Like, I don't think this one would be necessarily good for for sketching, unless you're trying to get this dry brush effect. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet looking for art supplies that'll help you in your artistic career or just make the process this much more enjoyable. And today we're actually going to be continuing with some inking supplies based off of the interest that came from the previous video, and I guess people just want to see me be tortured with the fact that I have to keep inking. But I'm actually on, I guess, a quest to find some inking materials that will make me like the inking process a little bit more. And so if you're like me, you don't like inking, so these videos might actually be a big help to you if we actually find something that we all can agree on is actually worth it. Now, we're going to continue to go with Pentel, right? So we're doing Pentel Arts again, and this is their color brush. So they have a whole bunch of different brushes, or inking brushes that they have, and they're different names and they have different features. So today we're actually going to go and check out the color brush. I'm hoping that this one will be a little bit better than the last one that we checked out, but there is only one way to find out. Come on, let's go check it out. All right, so as you can see, once again, the Pentel packaging is the same. It's a bit of chipboard with plastic. It allows you to look, at what you're getting, which is always good. And with this brush, it's actually, you got to activate it. So it's a water-based dye that dries quickly and produces rich, intense colors. Durable nylon brush holds its point. Okay, so it says, hold the brush with the cap pointed upward, turn clear plastic barrel clockwise in the direction of the red arrow, remove the white protective shipping ring from the cartridge, replace the cartridge, and tighten counterclockwise. Remove cap from the tip while holding the pen. With the tip down, squeeze cartridge gently until the reservoir is full. Please note that the excessive squeezing of the cartridge will cause ink to drip from the tip. All right, well. So obviously there is an ink cartridge in here that you can control. So, all right, so we'll check that out a little later. All right, so, the fact that the whole shaft of the pen is squeezable is a bit weird for me, and so the plastic is really plasticky, and it has these ridges on it, and so I know that it's supposed to be there to give you grip or something, but it's raised and lowered ridges, so it just feels awkward in your hand. And the fact that this is all it's like a very thin, obviously malleable plastic, right? So that you can actually squeeze that, and that is not something I'm a fan of at all. Now that nib though, that nylon brush looks really nice, right? Like that is a real nice nylon brush. It's got a nice tip to it, and the actual ability to use it might actually be really good, but this feels really odd. All right, let's see if we can post the cap. And you can, so that's a plus, right? That's always nice. It doesn't snap, but it is very snug, so that's a plus. Oh, there's a snap there. That's good. So, right, so that's a nice snap. All right, so now we are going to, all right, we're going to bring this back over, point it upward, okay, and then rotate counterclockwise. Okay. I don't know what ring it's talking about though. Because it's like, okay, and we wrote directions from the red arrow, remove the right protective shipping ring from the cartridge. I don't really see a white shipping ring from the cartridge. I don't. Oh, it's this. Okay, so this, it says it's white, but it's red. All right, no problem. We can do this. Okay, shipping ring, replace the cartridge and tighten counterclockwise. All right. Remove the cap while holding the pen with the tip down. Squeeze gently. Oh, there it is. Oh. Okay, till the reservoir is full. Oh, look, see? Okay. It's filling up the brush. All right. Okay. And then it says if you overfill it, then obviously it's gonna leak. All right, so let's post a cap. Let's see what we got here. All right, so I didn't push it too far. So here we go. Let's see what we can do with this. And there might not be enough ink on it, right? Like, who knows? So let's go ahead and oh, okay. I mean, it's got this nice, and like I said, I don't know where the reservoir actually is. So just trying, because right now it's really kind of breaking apart, and I think that's just because there's not enough ink in it. So once again, these brushes really, right, you can't really use a lot of ink. Like, you can't move very fast with them, right? Because the ink just doesn't flow with it. So you can't really move fast. Oh, it's going better now. Right? Because I keep putting more and more, I keep squeezing to put more and more ink in there. Mostly because I don't see the reservoir, so I don't know when it's full. There's no line that tells you when it's full. Right? So I don't know what I'm actually filling to. But, right, we want to make sure it's got a lot of ink, hopefully, in there. I mean, this thing, like I said, that nylon brush is nice, right? You can get these really nice, thin, small lines, right? I mean, you cannot argue with that, with the nylon brush, right? Oh, now that it has a lot of ink in it, okay, look at that, that's good too, right? You got a lot of ink, you can still really get a lot out, right? It still frays a little bit towards the end, but you know, if you're trying to ink, I don't know, it still frays a little bit depending on, right? Like down here, the ink just doesn't, like, you can see it, that the ink here and here just doesn't, it doesn't keep going all the way. So it's really hard to tell if it's just because there's not enough ink in it, if you need to refill it. Like I said, there's no telling what the reservoir is, and I have no idea how much ink is still in here. Oh yeah, okay, now I've got too much in it because I just saw it bubbling out the tip. So now we should have plenty of ink. Okay. And like I said, it's got a great range. Right? So it can go from thin to medium to really thick lines. It's nice, but because it can't keep the ink all the way through, you know, that's a problem for me, because it won't go all the way through. But you know, if you're doing smaller lines, but see, it still kind of frays towards the end, and you can't go really fast, is what I'm realizing. Like, the slower you go, the better the ink lines are, right? So if you're trying to go fast, it will kind of break apart towards the end. right? And so you'd have to come back in and kind of fix it up. But you know, if you're trying to do some inking and you're trying to get used to the brush, you can come around and make those nice thin lines again, right? So if it frays out towards the end, you can come in and then just touch it up to give it that nice, you know, thin line. But I'm not a big fan of the fact that it can't hold, like it doesn't hold the ink, right? So you can't, it's not consistent. If you're trying, if you're trying to do fine points, right? Like if you're trying to go out toward the end, it tends to break, right? Like it tends to start fading out towards the end, especially if you go really fast, right? It starts fading out towards the end, and that's a problem. But if you're making little lines, right? And you can take your time, like these are really nice, you know, where you can get that nice variety of the brush size. So if you're trying to do kind of like, you know, shrubbery or something like that, it works really nicely for that. But I don't think that, like, this doesn't seem like it would be the best for like comic book inking or character inking, mostly because it's inconsistent with how much ink actually comes out, right? And it constantly, no matter what, it just constantly falls apart towards the edge because it's not letting the same amount of ink out, right? And it's not like, oh, I need to push harder, because the harder you push, it just frays out towards the ends. It's definitely a pen that does, like, it does really fine little details well, because the ink doesn't have to go that far, right? And the nylon brush is great because it gives you a lot of control and yet still flexibility to where you can do really thick lines and then come back in and do really, really thin lines. So to be honest, this pen is, it depends on what you're actually trying to do, right? So if you're trying to make big, long strokes and you're trying to go fast with it, it's not going to work. Like, I don't think this one would be necessarily good for inking, for sketching, unless you're trying to get this dry brush effect, right? So if you're trying to get a dry brush effect, this would be a really nice tool, you know, because you can just, the faster you go, the less ink that comes on. So it would be an interesting technique to use to go, hey, look, I'm trying something different with my brush. Like, that would be cool. But if you're trying to come in and really do some inking, I think it would slow down your process, because you can really only go so fast and so far without the line actually losing the ink and falling apart. All right, so we just got done reviewing the Pentel Art color brush. It's a water-based ink brush, and there are some positives and there are some not so great ones. It feels cheap. Like the actual barrel of the pen just feels super duper cheap. You know, like you're getting this at a very discount store, so it feels really cheap. And I think that's partially because you need it so that you can squeeze the ink into the pen for the brush to actually work. But it just feels awkward. It's not really a pleasurable feel in your hand. With that said, the nylon fibers for the brush that's on this thing are absolutely fantastic, right? It holds its tip. It allows you to get really versatile lines. Like, you can get really thick lines, you can get really thin lines. The problem is that you have to go extremely slow to make that happen. And so if you're trying to sketch, it's not going to work. If you're looking to try and do some really nice detail work, just some miniature hatching or just some real nice fine detail work, this thing will be absolutely the thing for you. But in the end, this is probably not the best brush pen that I've had in my hands. And so for me, this is not worth it. Even though it was only $10, it in my opinion is not worth it. It does have some pluses that might actually work for you. Like, I did enjoy the idea of the dry brush effect. So if you're trying to do something with like a dry brush effect, then I think these would work really well, because as you go really fast, the ink can't flow fast enough with it, so it just looks like a dry brush. So it has a nice effect. So if you're trying to do a dry brush effect, bam, this is the pen for you. Also, if you're trying to do some really thin detail work without having like a really small pen like they did with the Pentel Arts Micro, this is also a good pen for you. But like I said, if you're looking for an overall inking pen, this is not it. I would say this is more of a specialty pen. Well, that wraps up today's episode. I hope you got something from it. I hope that it helps you in your journey as an artist just a little bit. And if you have any type of suggestions of materials that you would like me to review, please drop a comment down below and I will add it to the list right away. Thank you guys so very much for the support that you have given me. It means so much. And if you can continue to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done that, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I want to continue to grow this series as well as the channel to better benefit the artistic community. Thank you guys so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.